This is video 7.1, and in this video our learning target says I can find volume and surface area of prisms. Our essential question, how is volume different from surface area? We have several math practice standards, 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we have lots of key terms. Our first key term is volume, and that happens to be the number of cubic units that fill a space. Now, when we talked about area, we said it was how many square units. Volume is always cubed. Rectangular prism, that is a 3D figure where all faces are rectangles. Edge, that is the line segment where two faces of a 3D figure intersect. A face, that is a flat surface of a 3D figure. Net, that happens to be a 2D or two-dimensional figure that can be folded into three-dimensional figures. Pyramid, that is a 3D figure with a polygon base and triangle faces. A right prism, that is a 3D figure with parallel congruent bases, and all faces are rectangles. Well, the lateral faces, the ones on this side. Surface area is the sum of the area of the faces of a 3D figure. And vertices, those happen to be a point where three or more edges will actually intersect. So we think about that like the corner of boxes. All right, we're going to look at two questions dealing with volume. Now, the formula we want to use with volume is equal to capital B times H. This capital B represents the base area. So no matter what the figure is, we find the area of its base and put it in the place of the capital B. And then we multiply it times the height of the figure. If we look at a rectangular prism, and if you're not sure what that is, I've drawn one here. If we use the volume equals B times H, it actually looks like volume is equal to base times height, or what you might be more familiar with, length times width times height. So let's look at our shape that I have here. I have a rectangular prism, and I have three sides marked for you. Here is my base, or one of my bases, we could look at it. It has a base of 6 and a height of 4. I know this side is 4 because it matches here. And then if I turned this up and sat it right on top of that rectangular base, it would have a height of 11. Now these numbers are all interchangeable, so depending on what you want to use as the base will depend on what numbers you put where. Filling into the formula, volume is equal to 6 times 4, because that is my base, my rectangular base, times 11. That multiplies all together to be 264 centimeters cubed. I use the 3 because volume is always cubed. Remember we said it was how many cubic units fill up a space. Move over to the triangular prism. Again, we use volume is equal to base times height. In a triangle, the base is going to be a triangular shape. So we're going to use volume is equal to 1/2 base times height, because that is our base, times the height of the whole figure. Here is my triangular prism. You can see that I have used volume is equal to 1/2 times. My base is 3, the height of that base is 4, the height of the whole thing, which if we turned it up on its end, would be 12. Multiply these together. 1/2 times 3 times 4 is 6, times 12 gives me 72 inches cubed. All right, now we're going to look at some surface area. Surface area is definitely different than volume because volume goes inside, how much you could fill it up with. Surface area, if you think in terms of taking a box, say a cereal box, and you cut it along the edges and you would lay it open flat, you would see all these different shapes. And so when you find the surface area, depending on what your base is, your formula could change up. If you look at what I have here, I have one where the base is triangular in shape. So what I did was I started out by saying that the surface area is equal to Here is the formula for the area of a triangle. Both of my triangles here are the same, so I was able to multiply that area times 2. Then I look at it and say, well, I've got a scalene triangle, which means all three sides are different, which means that each of the rectangles that are formed from the sides of the triangle, they're all three going to be different. And that's where I get base times height plus base times height plus base times height. So let's fill in the information and see where this takes us. If I look at my triangles, I'm going to have, and I'm actually going to use, instead of the brackets this time, I'm going to use the parentheses. And I'm going to have 1/2 times base is 4, height is 3, times 2, because there are two that are the same, plus my base times height. Doesn't matter which triangle or rectangle you start with. I'm going to start with the 19 by 5, this one that's right here on the top. Okay, then I'm going to move to the one that's on the bottom here, the one it's actually sitting on right now. It's a 19 by 4. And finally, I'm going to use the one that's over here on the back, this little guy over here. It also has a length of 19, but it has a height of 3. All right, now that I have all my information in, it's just down to the calculations. So if I look at the first part where I have 1/2 times 4 times 3 times 2, that actually ends up being, let me rewrite my surface area, 12 plus, and then I will have 95 plus 19 times 4, which is 76, plus the 19 times 3, which is 57. And that all together, and yes, that is a 5. That added all up together is 240. I'm finding area, so I'm only using square units. And since it is in centimeters, it would be centimeters squared. Move down here. I'm actually going to draw a little line so we don't get these guys confused. We now have a rectangular prism. And I know it's a rectangular prism because my base is here and here, or my two sides that are matched. They are rectangular. There are 2 of them, so there is 2 times base times height. There are going to be 2 that are 10 by 3, so there's another 2 times base times height. And there are going to be another 2 that are 10 by 2. There's my last base times height. So I'm going to have 2 times, and I'm going to use the original 3 times 2, plus 2 times 10 times 2, it's hard to see that, plus 2 times 10 times 3. Excuse me, I'm running out of room there. Okay, so my surface area all together, 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times 20 is 40, 2 times 30 is 60, and I do apologize for my handwriting. That's quite a mess. That all together would give me 112. We're not dealing in centimeters, inches, so we're dealing in units squared.